All right, we'll call the meeting to order. Thank you all for coming. We just had a tour of the campus. We got to see some of the new renovations that are being made, and so awesome. So,
Oh, right there.
that's out of us.
Yes.
Okay. Trying to record the session.
All right, so welcome again to our November 22nd, 2022 meeting. And so take a look at the agenda, and I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Okay, do we have any citizens' comments, Lisa?
No, we do not.
No. So we're going to have introduction of some new employees. It's so good to see the room full. So let's meet them.
All right, we do have new employees here today. I'll kick it off. First, I'll introduce Madison Love. She's the assistant softball coach and assistant in residence life. And I'm proud that she's also a graduate of State Fair Community College. Madison.
Welcome.
Second, I'd like to introduce Cameron Morton. She's the new administrative assistant in the Dahm Museum. Cameron? Lead over to Allison. Oh,
Here I am. Hello, I am introducing this evening Ms. Danielle Withman. Danielle is a new nursing instructor here on Sedalia campus, and she is also an SFCC grad and has worked for us before as an adjunct, and she was a student tutor while she was in the program. So we welcome her and are really excited to have her on the team.
Welcome.
Andy Rock.
Yes, I'd like to introduce Jay McMillan. He's joined the college in the capacity of the program coordinator for climate and energy control, known as HVAC. So Jay would have been here last month in October meeting, except he was in NC3 training in North Carolina.
Right.
So he has successfully completed that and has been working on development of the curriculum for the program.
Welcome.
Dr. Rivers.
It's my privilege to get to represent the extended campus, and we know how important those are, as well as the importance of our navigators. So if you'll click on their screen, Miss Michelle Slater. She found out about 8 o'clock, 8:30 this morning. She was invited. So she's made the efforts to be with us this evening and to fill that important role there at Clinton. So we're really proud to have her on board.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, do we have anybody else?
I've got a few to make up.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Going down the list.
Oh,
I don't have anyone on Zoom at Clinton because at about 8:30 this morning, I told her, don't worry about it, I'm gonna do this later, right? So we miscommunicated. Carrie Young was hired as an admissions and outreach advisor. She reports through the admissions office, but she'll be office in Clinton. She lives in Clinton. She was recently a business teacher for Clinton High School. She'll be responsible for recruiting and guiding students through that admissions process. She's also building a house. She's engaged to be married. They're going to be married in March, and she's finishing a house. So like, go ahead and take the holiday.
yeah.
So I've got a few, some to make up from last month. So first we have Randy Turley.
Right
There he is. Thank you, sir. You know his better half, Jolene. He is one of our maintenance tech twos, which means he's also cross-trained. He's a bus driver for us as well. So we missed him last month. He was taking one of our athletic teams to one of their contests. He's worked 34 years in construction, mostly for Septagon. He's been a commercial bus driver for 5 years. He's a husband and father. His daughter Brandy was a former employee of ours. and a student. His son Andrew is an alumni of ours, and they have 5 grandchildren together. Some interesting facts about Randy. He's raced motorcycles and sprint cars for the last 23 years. He's been an acting crew chief for his son's sprint car for 7 years. I'm not quite sure how you're acting for 7 years, but you know. He collects and competes with historical antique cars and motorcycles, and he likes spending time with his grandchildren at the lake in Florida. Thank you. Anthony, holding the doorway for us. He is with our custodial services division. He spent a lot of years as an over-the-road truck driver. He's been to travel to all 49 states doing that, except for Alaska. Yes, he did drive in Hawaii. He's moved here during the pandemic to help work and help family. He's won and lost a fortune gambling, lived for many years in Las Vegas. Interesting fact, he's worked in nuclear sites in Nevada handling material. Nestor. There he is. He's also joined our custodial division. Originally moved here from El Salvador to Sedalia 25 years ago. He's been married for 27 years and is a deacon in the Catholic Church. Jackson, who is not here tonight because he is also one of our maintenance tech twos who's cross-trained as a bus driver. He is with the men's basketball team as they are traveling to Arkansas. But he is had experience as a carman with the railroad services. He has a side business making crappie jigs, known as slab busters, if you've made those before. And Ryan. We got Ryan. He's also a part of our custodial services. He spent 14 years at Bothwell doing similar work there and runs a landscaping business on the side as well.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming today. And if you'd like to stick around, it's an amazing meeting. And if you'd like to flip out, you can do so now. No judgment.
Like, where they were going.
All right, so we are ready for the approval of the minutes for the October 25th, 2022 board meeting as published. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, warrants, Keith,
I think for the month of October 2022, their total disbursements were $6,081,018. Notice that's a couple million more than would normally be in a month. It includes the transition of a couple $1 million into a 200-acre piece of land. So you'll see that in the accounts payable side of this. Other than that, everything is in line. At $44,650 payment to pros. They owe it. Payroll of a little over $1 million, and payroll tax on that of $210.96. Financial aid refunds of $125, and so utilities of $62,000 and cigarettes, so $6,081,018 for the month of October.
all right, entertain a motion to accept that warrant.
That motion?
So here's second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any other questions or? All in favor, say aye.
You just did
I just did opposed, same sign. Yeah, right. I marked it and I'm like, why did I say that? All right, so we're ready for institutional reports.
All right. A few years ago, Donnie, or not a few years ago, a few months ago, Donnie Lucas came to me about a year ago and said, I am just floored on how I can reach these younger students in the traditional artwork. It seems a real challenge to reach them, but I've started to experiment with virtual reality. And I think with a small investment, there's some opportunities there. So we improved that small investment, and he's here with a team, a cross-discipline team that's working, and they're going to share their work in virtual reality. So who's starting? Daniel? All right.
Well, thank you everyone for
Daniel,
having us.
so
Just
just
my name is Daniel So. I'm program coordinator for engineering design technology. So myself, Donnie, and Megan have been working together to come up with some ways to use technology to cross promote our programs and work together across campuses in ways that you wouldn't normally see programs work together. So for example, what you see on this screen is actually a 3D scan of a physical building. They took a LiDAR scanner, so it's not actually a picture. What you see up here is literally millions of dots comprising this building. And each and every one of those dots is completely interactive. We can take it into our architecture software, remove walls, put new walls in, things like that. That way our architecture students can go in and easily remodel a building. Then we can turn around, take that into virtual reality and start to manipulate those things. So some of you have seen this. This is our Matterport tour that we've been doing of our campus. So Eric, you can kind of click around a little bit. These are fully web-based, but you can also take them into the headsets and be fully immersed in being able to physically rotate around and feel like you're actually in Stoffaker walking around. The long-term goal with this kind of cross-program work is that we could then build a space, and this is something I've been working with Megan on. We could build a virtual space that isn't actually physically available. My students can build it, her students can put artwork in it, and we could continuously change things out so that it's a rotating thing. And rather than going and pulling artwork off the walls, a couple clicks, and you've got something brand new there. So Megan, I'm going to turn things over to you to speak about that part.
All right. Will you actually go to the catalog?
It's great and short. Okay.
All right, so hi, I'm Megan. I am the lead instructor for art history classes here at State Fair. And what I wanted to show you first, what I was talking to Eric about, is actually what you're seeing right here is called a catalog view of an exhibition catalog. And this is actually traditionally how I would be teaching art history. So I would have a slideshow up, I'd be showing my students the actual images themselves with the information down below. And we worked through getting through like the statements of significance, why we look at these pieces, what they tell us about the cultural period, the historical significance, and what it shows us stylistically in art. Yeah, you guys are so thrilled, right? Learning about style. But what is really important here for VR and what we're learning with works of art is that when an artist makes a work of art, they're in an actual living space, right? But yet how we view art and how the art discipline actually works is that we look at a two-dimensional surface, which is inherently a real wrong way to actually engage these objects. That part of art history is learning that these are objects in our actual environment, so they're objecthood. Now, what's really interesting about this is that if we look to the second one over here, which is Vermeer, so it's Vermeer's Milkmaid. That image is what is called a, my brain. It's everyday life, it's a genre piecing, it's talking about your everyday people, like what you experience and your everyday occurrences. During that period when it's painted, that wasn't a very powerful statement to make in art. So it was something to look at off to the side. The one right next to it, however, is Louis XIV. Louis XIV was the king, and this was an exceptional type of art piece. If you were an exceptional artist, that's the kind of art that you were making. Now, what this doesn't show you on the two-dimensional surface here is the actual size. I can list the size underneath it, but what you notice with the Vermeer and with Louis XIV is that, according to this, Louis XIV looks like he's small. However, if we go to our main exhibition page, which Eric will lovingly do. So this is the project that Daniel was talking about. So I'm actually tasking my students to create a museum space. Not only am I using this as an actual tool to teach my students, but as a tool to get them more familiar with how you communicate with art and how you put the pieces together. What this illustrates is that over on the left, that tiny little image that you can barely see is actually the meter. When we're looking at traditional art, that was not a hierarchical point for art. So therefore, it was demonstrated extremely small because it wasn't important. So the size of the canvas was literally the representation of how important that work of art was, and transitively, how important that artist was. So if you were an artist of note, you were making big art. But if you weren't, you were going to be making really small art and your name was going to be really not known well. Why this is important, art historically speaking, is that you all just learned a lot about art in a really small amount of time by looking at it. Now, if we were to just turn around, these are exceptionally large pieces in comparison to what we had. These are the defining works that give you modern art. What modern art changed is that the everyday life, your common everyday person, became the hierarchical representation, that they were risen to the valor of, for instance, a king. So by noticing what you have in the actual size of the canvas themselves, it's expressing to my students what this import actually looks like, what they can do with it. And then furthermore, when they're coming in to make their own actual exhibition, they get to see how to communicate with these works of art, what they say, and how their relationship is really experienced in the actual environment itself. So what our students are doing is that my students are going to Daniel's students. They're having meetings and they're talking about an actual physical space. Daniel's students are then making that space for my students. My students are then tasked with putting those images in. So they have to create a theme and they have to create a conversation. This technology is moving the discipline of visual arts forward in the way that it's been waiting for all along. Like this is actually what we need in art. So I wanted to show you exactly what we can do in art history and what it says to the cultural significance. And then Donnie's going to show you what this can mean actually for your virtual experience, everything inside of it. Do you guys have questions for me, though?
For starters, I need to thank Dr. Bates for taking the sleep with me because I think in the beginning he was like, I knew Eric did already have some sets here on campus. I guess we could have borrowed those, but you know, that would have, but we did it. But anyways, yeah, this has been quite an experience and it just keeps getting more and more exciting. We've gotten into this so deep now that we've actually taken one of our studio course or classrooms over in Stockport and have converted that to a VR room. And thanks to Justin and his crew, and especially Mr. Jackson, which is not here, but they worked really hard for about the past month or so to get that room completely redone. We have some new computer equipment going in there, so it's even going to push what we're capable of doing in VR headset even further, as far as, you know, teaching kids how to take this work and create live videos from it, edit them down, then they can put that out on social media, whether it's YouTube or TikTok and stuff like that, but you know, it's all part of that marketing process. But we thought you would be really interested in actually seeing how this actually works. It's one thing to watch it on a video. It's actually a different thing to go into a VR headset and go into a virtual world and actually experience it. So our room was just finished yesterday. The IT folks are in the process of moving our equipment over to that space. So I figured in about another week, we should be ready to go completely. I would invite anyone that is interested in doing this to come over, take you down to the VR room. We'll create you a great big large room and you can go in there and you can walk around, dance, do whatever you want and just and have a good time. We can give you an art experience. You're into Pennywise, I can invite you into Penny's world and you can go into a sewer system and hang out with that crazy clown, but you know, that's up to you. But again, it's all part of that experience. But anyways, so give me just a second here. I have a student from the Lake of the Ozarks, and that's currently where she's at. And this, I think this would kind of give you guys a good demonstration of how we can utilize this technology. I know. I look like
You'll need to recast.
All right, Eric.
You'll need to recast.
I got to recast?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Think about, we already had to get over worrying about what other people think of. And good. You were, Eric?
Nope. Have you selected the computer?
I did. Want me to get it all done?
I'll refresh.
All right, here we go. Try that again.
This,
You're in. Yay. And now you can see what I do. Grab your sketch. So everybody see the little googly eye guys and that whole thing right there? All right, so the nice thing about Gravity Sketches, which is one of the first apps that we started with, there's other ones that we're gonna get to use when our new equipment rises, but a lot of this other software requires that you're actually tethered to like a gaming unit because it requires a lot of memory. But Gravity Sketch right now is probably one of the most popular ones out there. So what we do here is we create these collaboration rooms. Oh, everybody, I would like to introduce you to Melanie. Melanie, wave at everybody. I don't know, can you hear?
yeah.
All right. So Melanie started this with us last semester and she's really kind of grown in love with it. And ironically enough, her name is well known now at the Gravity Sketch headquarters because she texts them constantly and asks questions. So they've learned to reply very quickly so that they don't have to deal with her. But now the interesting thing is, me and Melanie yesterday discovered that we can make ourselves avatars. Now, unfortunately, you can't see mine, but other my arms, you know, this is all you get to see. This is a good example of what Melanie kind of did. So I'm going to enlarge it. So this is the cool thing about working in VR, and especially in the art world, is not only can I sit back and look at something. Now, by the way, this is Olympia. This is a very famous painting, which you see of the easel right there. And Melanie created all this. Now she is a prostitute and it is around 6 o'clock. So maybe it's appropriate. I don't know. But anyway, I can walk in here, check out everything. I got to pull myself around. Now, here's the difference. So because I'm sitting in a chair, I can't just get up and run around. But if I'm in a large enough workspace, I could actually just walk around the room and which is much easier. And that's the cool thing about our VR room. It's large enough that allows students to actually physically walk around and move and be part of their project. So, you know, then you walk over here. Unfortunately, I have to scoot like this, so. But, you know, but Melanie, would you like to say anything about, whoop, I'm moving our project. Slip back out here. Oh.
Okay, it's got a back.
Oh, there you go. There we go. Yeah, I backed it out.
So I guess what I'd like to say about this is I'm actually kind of sad that I only got one semester to do it in class, but I'm addicted to this process. I think it can go a long way for a lot of people. I have a lot of ideas of what I want to do with it. Because he doesn't want to take a piece of art and step into it. Able to check it out. But I think for art, do that.
And the cool thing about these collab rooms is we can actually, me and Melanie right now can actually create, you know, if we wanted to, we could actually start a piece together and do that. And then we both, you know, we're both allowed to move things. So, you know, you can twist things around, do all sorts of fun things like this. And then I can just turn it off and hand it over to Melanie, and then she can play with it. So the cool thing is that this can be done from a distance. And this semester, or next semester, we actually have a student that is enrolled, that is moving to the state of Washington to be with her sister while she's has her baby. But she has signed up with 2 classes, and then we're going to do the entire thing through a VR headset. And she's also, and I haven't told Daniel this, but she's going to sign up for Daniel's class too, to learn to do some 3D modeling. So she'll be literally our very first student that has received a full semester and strictly done in the virtual world. So we're pretty stoked about all this stuff. So any questions?
Yeah, and just to toot our horn a little bit, which we always love to do. We vet Donnie and I know Megan and I'm not sure Daniel, but we've actually talked to some other schools and see where they were at with this VR kind of environment and development. And we're way farther ahead. So not only technically with the support side, but also with the instructional side and what we're doing collaboratively. So the collaboration is really a big piece to this.
One thing to add too is that Melanie was also one of my students and who took art history, who absolutely loves it. And she wanted to make this project because she wanted to engage it in this way of moving around it and learning to see inside deeper and showing you the perspective in it too. So if you notice when you walked through it, there was that additional room in the back that she had actually added. So not only is she experiencing the art in this new environment, but she's also taking her own interpretation and then adding more on top of that. She's critically engaging the actual excitement of it and the ideas that are being posed. So it's really quite
One thing I do want to add, on the tech side, there are a lot of different things that you can do with automotive machining. This does not replace curriculum. It is a supplement to curriculum. You're never going to replace picking up a wrench and actually feeling the torque on it. Right? You're never going to replace that, but you can supplement the information by providing near real world simulations that you aren't safe to do.
Yeah, I would say that, you know, a lot of our students have thought, well, you know, this, we're not going to get the draw, we're not going to get the sculpt. And well, that's not true at all, because in all honesty, you have to, if you're not a good sketcher, then it's really kind of hard to, let me grab a piece here. And I throw this one in here because this is something I kind of played around one day in class. And just to give you, so what I've done, and, you know, people always ask, well, how do you start something? Well, this right back here, all this scribble, that was the original fish. You can call it fish, I guess, or a psychotic mermaid or something. But it started out as this, and then we just developed layers. So you have to have drawing skills. You have to be able to sketch well. So if anything, I think what we've learned more than anything about VR art is that if you're really bad at art, this is not going to help you. Matter of fact, it will probably highlight just how bad you are. So,
Sorry, Justin.
so in one way, it maybe helps some students to think, well, maybe I should go down another path. But that just to give you some examples of stuff. And like me and Melanie right now, one of the things that ironically enough you can do well as far as making money in this is that she's going to start recording what she does in the VR headset. She'll edit that down, and then she's going to create YouTube videos. And, you know, if she hits 10,000 viewers on each video, then she's going to start receiving income because of commercials. So that's just one little aspect of, of ways to make money doing this whole thing.
Is Melanie the owner of McKinsey Sweets and Gravois and Mill?
She sure is.
Melanie Malone.
Yeah, so she was our guest at the Lake of the Ozarks Legislative Advocacy event. She is also a graduate of our business management program and has gone through our Small Business Development Center and started a business in Gravois Mill, and she shared her story with legislators last week. So Melanie, thank you very much. We need to get you on the payroll.
All right, thank you, Melanie. Bye.
All right, just think back to your own educational experiences. I remember art history and it was just a memorization, slide after slide, and now you can get in and just, it's a higher level learning. It's just so awesome. And the collaboration between the groups is really state of the art. So thank you very much. Any questions for anybody? Well, let's give these rock stars a hand. I have a feeling that they wanted to do this because they'll be asking for additional funds. Budget years. Yeah.
All right, guys, thank you.
All right, thank you. Our second institutional report is about our commercial driving academy. So today we also have an agenda, 2 agenda items related to the commercial driving academy. So we thought it to be important to put that into context. And so I'll turn it over first to Dean Roth.
Good evening. This past February, some new federal regulations went into effect regarding commercial driving academies or people that are training folks to earn their commercial driver's license. So at that time, Dr. Bates, we met, he was in on the discussion, and we evaluated where we were with these new regulations, and we really decided we needed to go big or go home. And we really needed to expand and take advantage of all the opportunities that this would bring us, because of quite a few of the people who were formerly running these types of programs were no longer eligible to do it. So we systematically began expanding the Commercial Driving Academy. Amy and her crew have been doing a lot of work, so I'd like to have her speak maybe to some of the recent additions to staff and equipment, because we kind of got, I guess, a virtual reality theme here tonight. We'll talk to you a little more about.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to share some information with you about our Commercial Driving Academy program. Thank you, Dean Roth, for that introduction. Well, also, I want to thank the board and the college for investing in the Commercial Driving Academy simulator that we've been able to add to our program. It was installed in early September. Our instructors have been trained. Did I get that date right? Early September? Okay. And or October. Yes, didn't seem that long ago. So early October, the CDL simulator was installed in Fielding 245. We are utilizing it now with our students. Our students are and instructors are seeing a very added value to their training before they actually get inside the semi truck, the actual training equipment. So they're seeing efficiency there, and the students are learning in shifting, being able to operate some shifting maneuvers before they actually get into that equipment. So thank you for that investment. And we are hosting an open house on December 15th from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. We invite all of you to come in and experience the simulator if you would like, watch it in action, and know that what a value that is to the college and to our students. Again, December 15th from 9 to 6. We're going to be there all day. Brent and the instructors will be there, and we'll have some light refreshments. I hope that you can schedule some time to come by. So a little bit of history about the Commercial Driving Academy. The program was formed in 2004. So believe it or not, we've had the training program available for our region for 18 years. And we've done so by the support of really one local trucking company, Ditsville Transfer, who has provided our training equipment, our semi-truck and trailer, all of the maintenance required for us to utilize that semi-truck and trailer for our students. And within that period, we've trained about 350 students. So that's yielded a revenue of about $1.4 million in revenue to the institution for operating a program and training their students. Excuse me, I just lost my hearing. And as Michael mentioned, February 7th of this year brought in a new federal regulation that impacted all training programs across the state and how they train truck drivers. including ours. However, we found that integration was very seamless because our program already met the standards that were required by the federal regulation. So we became part of the training registry, which is a requirement of all training programs to train students and document their proficiency in the training that they are ready to test. They're ready to go to the state examiner's office to test for their Class A CDL. We became part of that registry in our theory, range, and road. So we have 3 parts of our Class A CDL training period, and we're registered program, and we're registered in all of those areas. We have a current wait list of about 15 individuals. We're booked out through January, for our January class right now. We have seen increased demand by students, by companies for truck driving training. So even though we're continuing to book out, we still have a waiting list. We have employers that are interested in partnering with us as well, as we know that truck driving careers are one of the highest in demand careers. Our large manufacturing base and distribution logistics supports that in our region as well, that we have that demand to train truck drivers. We're seeing employers come to us that say that they have some operators or technicians or warehouse workers on their staff that now they would like to send to a truck driving school training program to achieve their Class A CDL to move into driver positions within their company as well. So an additional way we're supporting manufacturing and businesses within our region. So we historically have served about 17 students in a calendar year or fiscal year with our CDA program. As Michael mentioned, the go big or go home movement, and with the federal regulation, the college has supported adding staff to the program. So Brent has come on board as the director of our Commercial Driving Academy program. We have 2 full-time instructors, where we had previously had 1 full-time instructor. So that added staff is helping us meet the demand to train. However, we still have 1 semi-truck and trailer for the program. So we have had the opportunity to add the passenger buses in partnership with the college, that we can utilize the passenger buses for passenger bus endorsement training that creates revenue through the program. We've also purchased a school bus, so we can provide school bus endorsement training also through the program, and hazmat endorsement training. So all of those are added revenue and serving opportunities to train individuals to achieve those licenses. So in fiscal year 22, with the 18 students, I can tell you we had a revenue over expenses of about $35,000 for the program. That was after all expenses, instructors, and maintenance program costs were covered. So we had the opportunity to submit for a grant recently. We were asked through the City of Springfield, the EDA Good Jobs Challenge grant, to submit a budget to expand our Commercial Driving Academy along the I-44, I-70 corridor. So that would impact primarily our Eldon service area, Eldon, Lake of the Ozarks, and our Boonville service area. And within that budget, we have included the purchase of a semi-truck that we will be setting up class out of our Eldon facility to offer programming to that area. We are starting in Eldon first with this first semi-truck, with the plans to expand in Boonville after we get the program launched there. We've got access to a contracted instructor over there that we can hire, and the equipment and the training space. Brent has been working with Eldon Career Center on securing training space for that program expansion. So that is why you will see on the budget that will be presented to you, the purchase of a semi-truck for the Eldon campus expansion and the I-44, I-70 corridor. So that is really all of the presentation information I have. Does anybody have any questions about the program? Yeah.
You may mention that during the initial stages and whatnot, we received a heavy influx of money from the Ditchfield family. The loss of money, has that went away or?
It hasn't. Steve and Sam have continued the partnership. They have their very responsive, their team, their maintenance team. If there's an issue with the truck, our instructors or Brent will contact the maintenance team directly. They will get the truck in, get it fixed as quick as possible, get it repaired, whatever might need to happen, change out tires, whatever maintenance is needed. They are a great partner for that.
I thought they were, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, that has continued ever since 2004. And there was a partnership. So Don Weaver's, Jim Markham was part of that, the founding group. And Ditchfield has continued to stay a huge partner with each other. So, yeah.
Interestingly enough, that's a manual truck. And some of the union contracts require the union members to have a CDL with the manual trucks. And the fact that most everybody else is doing the automatics in their trucks for their commercial driving academies, we're one of the few with the manual. We've actually been getting a few linemen apprentices coming into our program, and we look to expand that with some of the union activities. So that's a positive. And we've also, through the simulator, we've got the ability to teach some things like the snowplow, which, you know, there's not really any opportunities to train on that in reality, but at least we can get a simulated activity with that. And then a third thing about the simulator is that drivers are heavily monitored with sensors in the truck. If they're braking too hard or have some kind of near miss, they accrue points. And often they can take training in those areas where they picked up points to get back into good standing. So if they've been braking hard, we can simulate that, and they can take the training and have that points removed and secure their employment. So a number of things we're working on besides just the folks that are coming in off the street to earn their CDLs.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's the neutral reports.
There, no. Okay, so now we're ready for surgical technology program approval. Allison, are you gonna do that?
Okay, thank you very much. The health sciences team is excited to be here tonight to garner approval for our new surgical technology program. This will be at the Clinton campus and with the anticipated start date of fall of 23. And with me tonight is Michelle Green. You met her a few months ago as a new employee, our program director for surgical technology. We'll start each August with that program. Accreditation will be a process we'll go through. Michelle will explain that to you. And she'll talk more about the turnover rate and vacancy rate for that position, and we'll answer any questions you have. Take it away, sister.
Okay. Well, first of all, my name is Michelle Green, and like she said, I'm the director of the surgical technology program. I apologize for all of you that have already heard most of this spiel. I tried to cut out a few slides and make it not so much, but anyway, I have been a surgical tech since 2003. So I've got a hefty background in that. I wasn't looking for this program or this job, but it found me, so I'm here for a reason. So to get started, I did a lot of research. I looked at surrounding programs around us. I tried to reach out to hospitals around us to see what data I can get. Why do I need to be here? Why does State Fair do this? So I will move forward through this. So the first thing is, what is a surgical technologist? This is the long definition, but we are allied health professionals who are an integral part of the team providing surgical care to patients in a variety of settings, whether that means hospital, clinic, lots of places. Surgical technologists possess expertise in theory and application of sterile and aseptic technique and combine the knowledge of human anatomy, procedures, and implementation of tools and technologies to facilitate a physician's performance of invasive, therapeutic, and diagnostic procedures. That's the long definition. We work under the supervision of a surgeon. We make sure that the operating room is safe. We make sure that the equipment works properly. And that the procedure is conducted under conditions that maximize patient safety. There are different roles in surgery. The doctor can't do it by himself. We can't do it by ourselves. We have to have a nurse. We have to have anesthesia. It's a team effort. But in layman's terms, we're the people that hand the instruments to the doctor. So to say there's a lot more to that, obviously, but that's what everybody thinks of when you say surgical tech. So looking at numbers, I'll take this with me. Looking at numbers, for Missouri data, this was in 21. The average hourly wage is $23.15 and yearly is $48,150. The long-term projection for the 10-year period that we're in currently is 155 openings per year. And that is just for the state of Missouri. So statewide in Missouri, also this was conducted in January of this year. There was an 18% vacancy rate with 277 vacant positions open. We're on the list of the top 10 hospital professions with the highest employee vacancy. So there's obviously a need in the state of Missouri. Oops. Then looking at more regionally specific, still in the state of Missouri, Kansas City region, West Central region, Central region, basically where we're at. Again, 144 vacant positions, 52 vacant positions, 18%, 23%. So the regions are kind of different because of, you know, the populations, but right now at Bothwell, there is a 17 to 33% vacancy rate, and they are actually doing on-the-job training with LPNs right now because they don't have enough school-trained techs to do those positions. Fitzgibbon and Marshall is also doing on-the-job trained employees as well. They've had 3 open positions this year, and they only have 4.5 total. So the turnover rate is not good. So the CAHUP accredited surgical technology programs in Missouri, as you can see, Kansas City, Columbia, St. Louis, and Springfield are where the community colleges are that are accredited by the body that we will eventually be accredited by. So we're kind of, you know, in the center of that. And then there's a few technical schools and then a hospital medical center over by Cape Girardeau. But those are the only 9 programs in Missouri that are accredited by the same program that we're going to be, or the same accrediting body that we will be affiliated with. These are the clinical sites that I've talked to every single one of them. So Clinton, Harrisonville, Sedalia, Marshall, Warrensburg, and Lake of the Ozarks. They have all responded with enthusiasm. They think it's great to actually have trained people and not have to take their nurses from the clinic, or, you know, from the clinics or from the hospital and have to train them. So in January of this year, they changed from a certificate program to a Associate of Applied Science degree. So the accrediting body made it mandatory that we offer an associate's degree. So for all programs that are currently established, they have 2 years to get transferred over from a certificate to a degree. So being we're just starting out, we get to lay it out exactly how we want it from the get-go. And so for our Associate of Applied Science degree, it's going to be a total of 62.5 credit hours. We just realized a couple days ago that we forgot to add CPR How, I don't know, but we're gonna get that added. So 62.5 credit hours. It'll be 27 prerequisites that they will take the first year, and then it'll be 35.5 program specific courses that second year. So it will run, it's basically a 3-semester, 12-month program. So the admission requirements, they're very similar to all the other health science programs. The prerequisites are just, the general classes, a few extra health classes, the TEAS test, and institutional and cumulative GPA. So we're just right along with everybody else. We have been approved, and this is all being started up with a grant. And with that, it was proposed that we are going to be a hybrid program. So, as cool as the VR stuff was that they just shared with us, we are going to try to implement some VR in this program as well. But of course, that's just supplement. It's not going to take over anything, but 2 of the courses are going to be strictly online. And then 4 of the courses are hybrid. So there will be, the didactic portion will be either in person or web-based, and lab, of course, is going to have to be in person. So part of that will be online, part of it will be in person. Lab and clinical, that you have to do it in person. For the accrediting body, has to be. You can learn with VR, but again, it's supplemental. So the kind of the layout in the fall, there's going to be an intro class, which that's one of the online classes. The fundamentals and instrumentation are the didactic and lab. And then there's going to be an introductory clinical for the second 8 weeks. That'll be a first 8 week and a second 8 week on these 2 classes, and those will be 16. Then the spring and summer semesters are all 6. Well, I guess summer's 8 weeks, but they'll be the full semester. Clinicals, again, in both of those, surgical procedures and surgical procedures. And then at the end, we're going to do, in the summer semester, we're going to do a certification prep and review course. And once we get accredited, it will be where the students will be able to take their credentialing exam at the end of the course on campus with me. Well, not technically me, I can't sit in there with them, but with proctored on our campus instead of sending them to Lenexa or who knows where all over the state to try to get them credentialed. So we'll do it in-house. So positions directly related to the program. I'm the director. I will have instructional duties. The clinical coordinator, the clinical coordinator and the administrative assistant, those job descriptions have been submitted. We just need to get those figured out and posted. But the clinical coordinator will be mostly in charge of the clinical side of things, but they will also have instructional duties when it comes to the lab portion as well. And so with the grant money that I was talking about, we were awarded $428,000 in the beginning. As of the last quarter that our amount was down to almost $314,000. We've renovated from classrooms to an office suite. At the Clinton location, there is an office suite that actually has five office spaces in one location. And then there's a central desk there as well, which is where the administrative assistant is going to be. So with our grant money, we were able to provide that. So medical assisting has an office, myself and the clinical coordinator have offices. And then the 2 instructors for the year 2 nursing program at Clinton also have offices as well. And then we did renovation to create the lab space, and the lab space is coming right along. And then we're still in progress of buying the equipment and the supplies needed. So as of right now, this is kind of what it looks like. Yesterday, my sinks got delivered, so that was exciting. And we looked at the lights and the way that they need to be coming out of the ceiling, which they're going to end up going somewhere up in here. And sounds like it's going to be an easy process. So let's hope that stays true. And then this is my storage closet that is off of the main lab. And all of this that you see is primarily donations. The grant money did buy the shelving and the carts and a few items back here that was here before I came along, but everything is all donations from our local hospitals. So Golden Valley has done great at letting me know when they have items, and we're getting a good start of having disposables that I'm not gonna have to purchase, which that's gonna save us a lot of money in the long run. So speaking money, for tuition, we are basing it on tier 4 tuition. It's an expensive program to run. There's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of gowns, gloves, those disposables. There's a lot of stuff that goes into health science in general. And this is one of the expensive programs. So, after looking at the numbers, we're basing this on 10 students for the first 2 years, then 15, and then 20 at the end of 4 years. Who knows what those numbers are actually going to look like. And the accrediting body is actually going to tell us what our maximum capacity is, but more than likely it'll be somewhere around 20. So based on that, our numbers are pretty close together. So we can only hope that that remains true. So these are the program costs. When we talk about the fees up here, this is like the big number. But the disposables and a lab fee, I mean, that just covers everything. This package deal we're going to get is a gold member package from AST, which is the Association of Surgical Technology. But that's where they will pay for their certification exam. They'll get a practice exam. They'll get a study guide. They'll have their membership to the organization, and it will save them over $100 in the long run. Technology, then this Periop VR license. This is still in question, and we actually are going to be trialing the VR system. There's not very many options for surgery right now. So we are going to try this one. There's a desktop version as well as a VR version. They both cost separate license fees, so we need to choose one or the other, or if at all. So that VR, we are trialing it the first week of December. So in 2 weeks, it's gonna come in, we'll have it for a week, and we'll be able to trial it and see what we think and make a decision. And then we're gonna use Trajexis, which for a 6 to 12 month period of time for the licenses, $100. And that is where the students can clock in, clock out, log their cases, their preceptors can sign. Basically, it tracks everything that they do at the hospital. And it's, I don't know if I talk about it or not, but it is mandatory that the students complete 120 cases at the end of this program. So there's, it's not just 10 cases they're doing, like they have to log every single thing they're doing. So in comparison to some of the other colleges around us, this is tuition and fees together. So the numbers are a little wishy-washy just because every college's fees are different. But for the most part, our numbers are pretty similar and kind of fall right in with everybody else. More than likely, we're going to have more out-of-district people than in-district, especially if we're offering a hybrid program. At least that's the goal, to be able to reach more and reach those people outside of this area, which once it actually gets up and going, it's not going to be a 5-day a week, 8 to 3 class. There will only be 2 days in the fall semester where they will have to be on ground for the lab. Otherwise, they can be at home, or couple of the 2 days, Mondays and Fridays, they can actually work if they need to, as long as they still get their work done. So it's only a couple days a week. So the mission is to deliver the educational foundation for students to become employed as entry-level surgical technologists and act as contributing members of the surgical team. That's our whole mission. And then I had the idea to link this program and my vision to Dr. Bates's focus areas. So for our students, my vision is to provide relevant curriculum and a student-centered environment to prepare competent graduates for entry-level surgical technology positions. For the employees that we work together to deliver and ensure a quality education experience. For the students in the program, excellence, my vision is to meet the required standards and obtain and maintain accreditation. For enrollment, watch the program grow from year to year until we reach our maximum enrollment capacity. And then the perception, the vision is for State Fair to be responsive to the communities we serve by providing relevant degree programs that address workforce needs and trends. So surgical tech, someone who solves problems you never knew existed in ways you never thought of. Anybody have any questions?
So this will increase this program will increase enrollment at the Clinton.
Clinton
Campus.
campus, yes. Yes, it will be at the Clinton campus and they will have to be in person for their lab hours.
And so you just had the renovation, so you talked about are the only renovations that were necessary to house the program.
Mhm. And there's extra classrooms there. So there will be a classroom for the didactic portion of it as well. And so,
So it actually makes more efficient, it helps us be more efficient in the use of the campus we have there.
correct, yeah, there will be a classroom specific for this, there will be a lab specific for this, and then there's the whole health science office spaces that have been created. So, yes,
Of the 9 programs in the state, how many are hybrid?
none. This will be the first one for the state of Missouri.
It'll be interesting to see too, the tech program, that have certificates. If they're able to accomplish the requirement of the associate's degree, if we're gonna see less, program availability because of that.
In a couple of years, yeah.
Hybrid format also is something that Allison's looking at how we can use in other health science to take that advantage and be different than everybody else as far as nursing and other things. So she's way ahead thinking, using this as an opportunity to think forward.
And then, one other thing, like upon approval from you guys, Monday, assuming you guys approve it, on Monday, the plan, I have a meeting with Darcy to fill out the, state, paperwork, the state application, for the MDUE, so what it is, whatever. For due approval, and then once we, the goal is to have that submitted by the end of November, hear something by the end of the year, and then we can start our HOC. So moving forward, once we get state approval, then we can start to advertise with pending HLC approval, but then we can start putting it out there once we get past the initial approval processes. So something else as well.
Well, thank you.
Very thorough.
So, Mr. President Wood, our policy requires new programs to receive Board of Trustees approval. This program has gone through our internal processes, the curriculum committee, the executive leadership team, and they did recommend approval from the Board of Trustees.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion. Do I hear a second?
Sure.
Do we have any more questions, things that we need to ask them while they're here? Not all in favor, say aye. All right, opposed, same sign. Congratulations, you.
A lot of hard work.
A lot of good work in that. Thank you so much.
Michelle's a go-getter. We are lucky to have her.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Another rock star.
100%.
Okay. Keith, are we ready to accept the CPA grant?
So we're going to follow up a couple of things from the discussion that Amy had about the expansion of CBA program and the grant that she mentioned. So formally, the grant that they're receiving is the Central Region Workforce Investment Board, which is funded through the U.S. Department of Commerce, the Economic Development Administration, It's called the Good Jobs Challenge Grant, which they've issued to the city of Springfield, Missouri as the primary award recipient. We are a sub-award recipient working through the city of Springfield. And through that have been awarded a sub-award of $477,164. That's to expand our training, and in this case, Ellen and Boonville. We use those grant funds to be used for CDL instruction, for equipment and maintenance, for program outreach and project coordination. So fairly comprehensive use of, available use of the funds. It's actually more broad than many of them are. The grant award period would be September 1, 2022, obviously in the past, through September 30th, 2025. So we have a 3-year time period to use the grant awards. So based on what you've seen and what we're looking at with the CDA program, jobs is recommended the Board of Trustees authorize President to accept the EVA Good Jobs Challenge Grant described above. I also recommend that the Board of Trustees authorize the President or the Vice President of Finance and Administration to sign any and all agreements related to the Good Jobs Challenge Grant.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to accept the CPA grant.
So moved.
Give me your second.
I'll second.
Okay, any more questions or discussion? Not all in favor, say aye. Aye. Those same sign.
That's approved. Number 10 now.
Ready?
Number 10 is approval for the purchase of a Peterbilt sleeper truck. They put out the bid request for truck. They got a couple of bids. This is one they've accepted, so it's recommended the Board of Trustees approve the purchase of one 2016 Peterbilt 587 sleeper truck. The amount is $50,000 from Maxim Express LLC of Rogersville, Missouri. Will be used for our commercial driving academy at either Google or other locations, subject to which is what the grant is for. Funding is through the Good Jobs Challenge Grant, that is as our subrecipient to the city of Springfield, Missouri. Any questions for the group and community or anybody?
I really like the ability to extend into the broader service area rather than just have the program limited to our Sedalia campus. I think that's good for all our programs to be able to extend and be more visible in the broader service.
I'll entertain a motion then to accept that the Peterbilt sleeper truck as presented.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign. Thank you.
Switch gears. So last meeting, we heard from Brad Griffiths about his thoughts and visions for the land purchase, what we're gonna do with it. One of the things we'd like to do, we had an option of waiting till fiscal year 24 to start it, or we can get started now and jump started and start in fiscal 23, which allows us to get literally a year ahead of instruction and getting the program done based upon growing seasons and things. But to do that, we need a couple things. One, we need additional budget authority to do that, and then the additional program director to do it. So Brad is here. If there's any questions as we do this, but what I'd like to do is maybe perhaps read the motion here. You guys can ask some questions you may have. But the request is, it's recommended the Board of Trustees authorize additional budget authority of up to $150,000 in fiscal year 23 for the SFCC agricultural program, used specifically to implement the initial farm operations. These budget expenditures will be used for the purpose of hiring an agricultural program director, the planning of 40 acres of crop ground, spring grassland management, and other associated costs. It's further recommended the Board of Trustees approve the new position of agricultural program director referenced herein. This position will oversee the agriculture academic programs, ensure integration of classroom learning with farm activities, and provide continuity of operations throughout the agricultural program. We'll also provide educational demonstration support to the agriculture industry and engage with and develop community partnerships for the SFCC agricultural program. So we're essentially starting this 6 months earlier than was originally planned. So Brad can answer any questions. Obviously, Dr. Murders can, any of us can about this, but
So basically this is to hire a director.
Yeah, it's basically to create that director position.
The initial part will be the hiring of the.
Hiring of the director as well as costs associated with planting a crop and getting fertilizer.
It's more than just hiring a director.
It's more than just hiring.
Because
the
I'm not
director.
quitting to be a director. I don't know.
Yeah, there will be some revenues associated with those crops, hopefully, but those would come in a different fiscal year.
That's kind of one of the key pieces too, to start 6 months earlier, you'll have revenues a year earlier. If you wait until the next fiscal year to start, planting crops and things like that, you're looking at fall of, the following year before you see some revenue. By going ahead and stepping this up 6 months and getting started, you'll see revenue in the fall of 23.
So what additional cost, Brad, do you see? We planted 40 acres, like what additional support are you gonna need to make like things like that happen in grass management?
You mean for this spring or?
Yeah.
beyond?
Yeah, like planting, like the implement,
Yeah, so, obviously we're gonna have to have equipment to do those kinds of things. But I think a lot of that I can do by working with some of our partners. We can get some help doing those types of things. There's gonna have to be some soil testing and we're gonna, kind of get that kicked off and think long-term on how we do that. Fertilizer costs, all those types of things. But the real capital piece of it, as far as equipment, things like that, I think to start out, we can use our community partners, industry partners, to take care of a lot of that starting out here.
And so you think the land, then you won't have to be doing the bulldozing and whatever, you'll just use the land that's available and then that will just come with time, think?
Yes, I think that's something we can do. The ground's got the cattle on it now. We can obviously do that. Now, there is a piece of it on the south end that we won't be able to utilize just yet until we do get the fence on the south boundary line. That boundary line is 3/4 of a mile through there. So there is a piece there that we won't be able to utilize just yet, but we can utilize the rest of it that's already fenced off. So then once that boundary fence goes in, then we can go ahead and expand beyond that then. But yes, we can use what's there. And then, just create a plan and in order to, start putting some better things in place, replace some fences, I mean, you know how that goes. You can't just go in and do it all at once. We got to do a piece at a time and got some thoughts about how we can move forward with that and not, come in here and ask for tons of money all at one time.
Getting started early too, though, on that south boundary without the fence, we can pay that property, so that would give us, some forage for cattle herd as we.
It's not that it's unusable. We just can't put cattle on or something like that till that.
any idea what kind of yield those 40 acres is gonna give you back?
Yeah, so that's a good, I'll be honest with you. I hate to guess yields. We know what that looks like sometimes. I would say, so what we will do this first year, that was in corn last year. We wouldn't go back to beans. I'm not gonna sit here and give great grandiose numbers about soybean yields. I mean, if we could get in the 35 to 50 bushel range, I would be thrilled with that.
All right. So let's go ahead and I'll entertain a motion to accept this position in the budget authority.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, anybody have any other questions or discussion before we vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Looks like you gotta get to work. Hey, Dr. Bates?
All right, couple of things for the president's report. I started off brief, but I'm afraid we grew a little bit. But first of all, we had our first legislative forum at the Lake of the Ozarks last Thursday. And the next event is Monday after the Thanksgiving break in Boonville. So thanks to Patty Wood and Tom Oldham for attending that legislative event at Lake of the Ozarks. Patty provided a welcome, and Tom was the host, the Board of Trustees host for the event. In attendance were two legislators, Representative Don Mayhew from the 124th District, which includes Miller County, and Representative Lisa Thomas of the 103rd District, which represents Camden County. So at the event, we told the story of the state's investment in State Community College, with a description of the programs at LOZ in Eldon. Teaching success stories from medical assisting, student Lillian Luttrell and nursing student Ethan McDaniel, Small Business Development Center and SFCC graduate Melanie Mullins, who you met earlier. And she's the owner of McKinsey Suites, and Lynn Farrell, who is a supporter of the college, member of our foundation board, spoke about the scholarship support provided by the Genuine Country Music Association. So all of this was in support of the 2023 legislative agenda, which includes moving the $10 million community college appropriation from last year into the core, and increasing the community college appropriation by a 7% inflationary increase, and support for Mo Excels, the Mo Excels program, and A+ and Fast Track. So Richard Parker's the host for the Boonville event, and Patty and Tom are going to be there as well. They had a practice session today for that. And one of the props used for this event is the at-a-glance document you have at your desk. This, it looks like things that we've done in the past, but we have some new and improved elements of it. I do want to compliment Brad Henderson, his staff, and our IR staff for collaborating, putting this together. It's a wonderful event. Some of the things that we tried to include in here, you need to take some time, I would suggest, going to digest some of this data, but some accountability. Not only just numbers of how many people we put through this place, but how are they doing? What's their success rate? How are we doing training workers from Missouri jobs? How are we doing moving people, as Dean Rogg would say, from poverty to prosperity? He said it better than I did. So there's some accountability stuff in here that we tried to add to this. But in addition, at the last part, you will see we've inserted some county statistics. So in this case, we were targeting the counties at the lake, Camden, Miller, and Morgan counties. And so we have breakdown of the impact of State Fair Community College by each county. And so in the Boonville event, we'll have inserted county data for, help me with the counties. Montauk, and Saline. So 3 counties that represent the legislative area. Well, the districts that our legislators going to be there. And these will double then in the future. So when we go to visit Carroll County, now we'll have a document explaining the impact of State Fair Community College in Carroll County, for example. So I think this is a nice addition to our repertoire. And this will then be modified for our federal legislative advocacy, and to include the impact by legislative district, and by the representatives districts for that. So this is a ton of information. We had a really engaged group, and we're excited about that as we go on. So that's a little bit about the legislative forums. Amy, Richard, Tom, and I are attending the federal advocacy summit in February, so we're doing planning on that. Jolynn and I are preparing information for that event and preparing for our legislative advocacy on that. I do want to recognize Richard Parker. This is a little bit surprise for him, perhaps, but he has a talent for trivia. I don't know if you knew that, but he and his wife,
Get out of here.
they were part of the trivia team for State Fair Community at the Rotary trivia event. And their team finished tied for first place. Unfortunately, they lost the tiebreaker. Took second, no prize money, but they represented us very well. I do want to also note that we have 3 teams in esports in the national playoff here in the next couple of weeks. Rainbow Six Siege team is 7-0. They haven't lost any competition. And they're tied for first seed in the nation. And their first round in the Nationals is on November 29th, and there's a watch party. You'll see information about that. The Super Smash Brothers Ultimate team, which it's a 1v1 group. Webster Brown is our competitor in that area. He qualified for nationals. There were 240 people he was competing against, so I'm not for sure how many's in nationals, but he's at the top of the group. And there's also a watch party for that event. And then finally, Mario Kart has our, did I pronounce that right? Mario? No.
Speaking of.
I do not know what I am talking about at all. Just reading what's written, but yeah. So our first female esports person, team member to make nationals, Isabel Ballard, is competing December 1st in that. She's a final, that's a 1v1 also. And so we have 3 teams in nationals, so that's exciting. Finally, I'd like to ask Keith, I know you've heard a lot from Keith, and probably tired of hearing from him today. Keith, would you tell us about the state debt offset program?
So, in 2016, well, let's back up. The state has a debt offset. If you're a state agency, and somebody gets a tax refund on their state taxes, that debt can be intercepted for that state agency. In 2016, they opened that program up to colleges. We as a state Perkins College did not sign up for it at the time. So what I gotta, we've been trying to get in ever since then, but it's been closed. Primarily because the legislature has to approve funding for it, because anything that gets offset to another agency technically is an expense to the state and it takes tax stuff, whatever. Anyway, so they had not opened up other programs, so we've tried for about 3 years, and every year we are told we're not. Well, last week we got an email out of the blue that said, oh, by the way, you're in it. We need your production file to us in 24 hours. But it doesn't matter. We are now, just so you know, but we are officially part of the Missouri Debt Offset Program. Any student that owes us a debt that's 6 months or older has been submitted to that program. And if those folks do get a tax refund from the state of Missouri at any point in the future, I think we're about second or third in line from some of the other programs to be able to recover that debt through the debt offset of the tax refund. So, and that happened literally last week. So it was good because we were trying to become part of it, and hadn't been able to. So we're very good.
And we maybe even got our first.
We actually have received our first 2 notices of collection in those couple of days from some fairly old debts.
So good job.
So that worked out well. That will help.
All right, so that is the president's report.
Okay, thank you so much. You did an awesome job talking about LOZ and, legislative advocacy. And so, well, I know he worked really hard on preparing all of the things he wanted to talk about. Those legislators were definitely engaged, weren't they? And I mean, this is something they were using and asking questions. So, and then the stories, I'll just say the stories that we heard from the students who were there, very impactful, definitely ones that I will remember. And I know the legislators appreciated that. So good job.
And good job to our team.
Absolutely. All right, financial report, Keith.
So we're through 4 months of the fiscal year. As I looked at this report, there was one item that stood out to me that I kind of do a little digging into because it seemed high and unexpected, and that is the instruction line for a year-to-date of 3.57. Couple $100,000 more than just kind of my head was. And I start realizing it's part of the issues of the way we do fund accounting. So the difference there is the simulator we bought for trucking. We buy it, that's for instruction. So it actually goes into an instruction account. But the revenue part, since it's coming from a grant, goes into a grant fund. So you kind of gotta know that some things are there. So this is a little higher, probably gonna be a budget, but the money did come in through a grant, which is being recorded elsewhere. Other than that, I don't see here the center line. The fact that tuition and fees as of October 31st, about 47.9% of budget. Good. I'd like to see that between 48 and 49%. So I'm kind of a lower range, but for a while we were averaging a bit lower than that. So I feel good about where that stands as we're basically at the end of the first semester. It won't change much in November. So overall, I don't see anything here that causes me concern. It says about where I would expect a lot to be in the one area that did look a little higher. I do know why now. Any questions? And obviously we spent a couple $1 million this month.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith.
Okay, so board discussion. We have a few items that are listed, just so that we didn't, overlook those. I know Dr. Bates and Justin and I attended the conference in New York for ACCT, the Leadership Congress. So we kind of want to share a little bit about maybe what we came home with that. The theme was improving the lives of entire families. I have the booklet. If anybody wants to take a look, you can see that it's not, you just go and listen to one speaker. It's, there were sessions to choose from. So we tried to split up to try to maximize the knowledge there. You want to go first, Justin?
Go ahead.
And tell, a little bit. Well, just a few takeaways, that I might want to say about that was, of course, the networking is always important. And so one of the particular ones that I attended was called Why Hold a Board Retreat? Sometimes the word retreat makes you hear people who do retreats, and it's the question of, they get to go skiing or, well, in education, that's not the case because they did this time. And I think, I've been on the board 10 years, and sometimes there has been that question, what is a retreat really for? So this one was a really good one because, they listed like 5 things as to why you should hold the retreat. Allow to put pieces of the puzzle together, build a team, not individuals, strengthen relationships, help us to grow and plan with a purpose. And so through that, a couple of things, kind of were ideas that I can remember that I shared at the time. And so one of them was, if we're truly student focused, that we need to make sure that we're including students, bring them to your board meeting. And so, we've had a few last month, we had one come and tell the story. Then we had them where Melissa, she was one of our students. So, you see that impact and you don't forget those stories when they share. The other thing they talked about is setting an annual retreat to discuss the president and the board's evaluation. And you set that date just like you have your board meeting, so you know what that date is so that you can plan for it. And I know that's another thing we'll talk about is when can we hold one? Well, now we're kind of looking at, we're kind of behind the 8 ball of like, well, do you have Tuesday off or do you have? So they said it, they said there's a yearly limit so that and just knowing that our board policy has it where we're supposed to do that in March. And we have one as well every other year. I think that's something that we need to think about. So, and then just kind of knowing that the role we play as a governing board has an impact on students and our community, and that we do take that serious. So I think through this conference, we really saw that. But the words that Justin, I'm going to steal it. I'm glad I get to go first because I know Justin happened to be in that same one, kind of snuck in the back. But if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so, the idea was, you can just take off and run and you'll be all alone and you can't do as much as you can with the team. So, I love how I see that happening here at State Fair Community College. We as a board certainly working together, but certainly so we can go far. we've definitely got to stay, just stay together, so that we can really have that impact. So again, so many good ones for me to be able to share and have to spend the night, sharing about it. But anyway, I'd certainly, share the book if you wanted to take a look to see what were some of the, the different things that we did attend. And every hour and a half, you switched and went to another one. So I would encourage you to go next year, because this is one of those ones where you get the ideas, you get excited about what we do, and you see the impact that we can make.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at my notes here that I took through there, and remember, all decisions are student focused and student first, but also we talked a lot about alumni are the key to the success of a college, and really bringing those stories. And I think we do a good job at that. How do we continue to highlight those alumni? Board is one voice. They use fact cards. They do different things that, we talked about Dr. Bates on the way back with it. But the big message I continue to get from everything is student first, and really focus on the alumni to help promote your college. And I think that those are some of the key takeaways that I kind of took from that aspect. And then the retreat, Patty did a great job of summarizing that, but really talking about what is the expectation of the president, what is the expectation of the board, and really diving into what that looks like to help promote that student first and student focused success.
Anything you want to add from your perspective?
Well, so during the conference, I was texting members of the executive leadership team about things, so they always hate it when I go out of town. So it means things to do. But one of the things that I think we heard in terms of governance, the training that Kate Nash provided to the board, we heard it over and over and over again, that same story. So, she did a really good job, and that was all reiterated through the processes. So, and the other part that's good about this is not only the sessions, but the networking. And for example, I met a president from a college in the CUNY system, a lot bigger institution, but he had some enrollment management ideas that I was able to share with the team. And Dr. Porter and Dr. Murders are working on following up on what he thought was the one reason why they had continuous enrollment growth during the time when others are going down. So that networking opportunities pays off as well. So.
Yeah, it was a good conference. Again, if you want to take a look at this, you're welcome to that. Looks like then we have next about a retreat schedule. So we know, as I said, according to policy, that we're supposed to evaluate Dr. Bates in March. However, as we discussed, after we kind of had this particular meeting, whatever, it's like, so we've never told him what we expect out of him.
Perfect.
He's come on, and so it's like, if we were to evaluate him in March, how would you evaluate when you haven't set goals? So we really do need to be looking at one soon to talk about how's that going to look.
So in addition to my evaluation, it is time for the board's evaluation, the self-evaluation. That occurs every other year, and next year's, I think, the year for that. So those would be two topics for a retreat in mid spring semester, sometime March or something like that. And then I would like for us to set, or I think about some time so we can set a retreat date for July. So our whole planning cycle, our planning and budgeting cycle starts off with that board retreat in July. So that's kind of the basis for our spring for what we do in the future. So we'd like to, and we tried to kind of integrate that into the meetings now. Like today's session really was something that would have been done in a retreat, but it's kind of seemed disjointed. It's been difficult to manage. I think it's better to see all that together. So what we'd like for you all to do is tell us when do you want to have the retreat in terms of what day of the week? And we could start picking out some dates then and propose them and get them on the schedule then. If what we heard was if you do it in advance, then you can work around it, work schedules and things like that, plan for it. So
we really need to kind of have that idea about, is it to be, because we know there are people who work. So, you know, it's kind of like, is it a Saturday? Is it a Tuesday night? You know, what is something that you feel comfortable in your schedule that you can plan? Saturdays. And, you know, and you are giving that up, but again, we know that the commitment is there and we want to be able to give it due time. That's the other thing, is just being able to give due time. And if we know in advance, I'm good with Saturdays, because I think then that doesn't rush us in the evening. Any other thoughts?
Would that be for the July one too?
It'll be live right now.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
On the March one, or if we did it in March, you know, if it was just my evaluation, that would involve more staff, but a larger retreat would involve more staff, which would be more than them.
mhm. Any other thoughts?
I think I shared this with you, I mean, with you two on our way back too on this is, you know, I know Saturdays are tough to give up and weekends are precious and I mean, I think this is pretty important. Opportunity for us to kind of pull this together and really set those expectations. And I think from a time commitment, you know, giving up one Saturday, 2 Saturdays a year, I think is vitally important to what we do here and the continued growth that we want and the expectation we put on the president's role. So I'm in favor of Saturday because I feel like it takes the time restraint off of watching the clock or we're here till midnight, or I don't know. I mean, whatever that, I think it just takes some of that pressure off.
Saturdays are okay by me, I just depend on the Saturday.
And
I do have some weekend work duties, so that
Yes.
could just depend.
Right. Yeah, so we'll try to look at some Saturday.
Lisa will reach out then and ask for conflicts. And then we'll bring a recommendation from that.
Okay. All right. And then the other thing is the Emeritus trustee policy. I mentioned that last time talking about that we had some potential. Randy was on the board for 12 years, and so there is that opportunity. So it is included in your packet so that you can see what it says. Looks like basically it's a matter of, you know, that it kind of begins with somebody nominating, you know, says so-and-so is qualifies for that, and then it's sent into Lisa. So, but be sure and take a look at that. It's posted to the end.
In terms of timing, we have a end of the year retirement / employee honors event. I think that would be a perfect time to honor the Board of Trustees Emeritus. You know, a bunch of employees will be there, you guys will be there.
Well, we also, at the same time, we approved the trustee emeritus, we also approved the employee emeritus award, so that would be, that also makes sense as a time to recognize employee emeritus awards.
This is Christmas party you're talking about?
No.
Okay, something different. They recognize retirees at that's Christmas thing too.
That's all of our recognition now is at the end of the year. So yeah, I think it's in May or June. June.
I think it's already been scheduled.
Yes, exactly the date. Yeah. Okay. So those are the things that are listed. What other things do you have to bring to the table?
Do we have a date for graduation?
Yes.
Because I was scheduling something in May.
May 19th. Yes, May 19th. We will have 2 ceremonies on the 19th, and the HSE graduation will be on the 20th. The 2 sessions on the 19th will be in the fairgrounds, and the one on the 20th will be probably in our Stockton.
When you come back here.
Yeah.
Anybody else have any?
Yeah, good to know.
I did. I didn't come super prepared and I probably should have grabbed it before I left the house, but I do want to extend a thank you for the nice slide across that was at my father's funeral on Sunday. So I do appreciate this. I think it said faculty. This is where I should have came better because there was a list of people on it. So I just want to say my thank you for that.
It's from all of the.
It is, but they listed some out and I just want to make sure everybody understands our appreciation and the time. So thank you for that.
Yeah, we do send our sympathies to you and your family and continue to keep you in our prayers.
Question. When is the next board meeting?
It's a Tuesday.
Okay.
It's Christmas Eve. Can you please-
Good, depends on twice, but
Yes. Glad you asked, yeah.
It wasn't on the agenda, I thought. It was like,
Oh, it isn't, is it? Oh, yeah. Okay,
media blackout.
yeah, so yeah, this is on the agenda, yeah, next board meeting. December 20th.
And I think, will we need a work session on the audit, Keith, or?
There's not, no, only a work session on it.
Okay, so it'd be regular meeting. Good.
Okay. All right. Anything else? All right, we'll request to then go into closed session for hiring, firing, disciplining, and promotion of personnel pursuant to RSMO section 610.0213. Is that the only one then? Okay. Okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Your second? Second. Roll call, please. Amy?
Yes.
Dustin?
Yes.
Richard?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Patricia? Yes.
And I think we know.
We do need to know.
Thank you all. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you all. Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. I need to run to the rest. Now, leave that question real quick. Okay, right, 11 tomorrow for the Thanksgiving. Yeah. It's 11, okay.
Are you bringing?
I am.
Can we have it there before we come like?
Sure. Yep, yep. I know, we're really. Usually things people.